Good day. So today I'm going to talk to you about the chart of the new moon, a new moon occurring on the 2nd of October 2024 at 6:50 p.m. Universal Time. So as usual, work it out for yourself, according to where you are, because you will be able then, if you know the time when the new moon occurs where you are, you can erect a chart which will be much more interesting for yourself, because it will have houses, which this one I'm going to show you next is not having, of course, the privilege of the ascendant, rising sign, and other houses around the chart, because it is what I would call a universal chart, because it is worked out according to the universal time. So before I go ahead with this reading, as usual, I'd like to remind you or present you with my books, the books that I've written and that I published. They're all published on Amazon, because Amazon publishes me, so that's why Amazon sells my books, just natural. So you see, you have here on the left, here, horary astrology. Horary astrology is based on the date, time, and place when you ask yourself an important question, or when something happens that you don't understand, when you're looking for something that you cannot find. Then you use this technique, and it is very, very efficient. I can tell you that because I'm using it, I won't say every day, but very, very often. And it's just like, it's fun, because that chart that you erect tells you a lot more. If you know how to look at it and to analyze it, it tells you more than just giving you the answer to your question. It goes further, deeper into the meaning, the reasons behind what happened to you, or the reason behind the questions that you are asking. So the next one is the center one here, and that's Cosmic Discordances and Health. So this book has been written to, it's like a research. So I've taken a lot of charts from well-known people, celebrities, who have had to deal with drastic, serious pathologies. And looking at the charts explains why, actually, due to certain configurations between important planets, meaningful planets, why that happened, and also because of the way they led their lives, And also, it gives you an insight, if you're looking at the transits, for example, of when the pathology has been discovered, or when the first symptoms came about. So it is useful, in my opinion, not only to understand the link between the astrology, cosmic power, cosmic influences, and our human body, but it's also interesting because it allows you, before anything happens, looking at your chart or anybody else's chart, to determine that there could be, due to some configurations, a terrain for the development of certain pathologies which can be avoided if the person changes their way of life, the way they eat, the way they sleep, the way they act and react, and so on. It's all about self-control and self-discipline as well, and self-understanding. If you understand what is in a birth chart and what can emerge from the evolution of this birth chart, through time, then you can most probably have a lot more tools to prevent the development of certain pathologies that could threaten your well-being and even perhaps your life. Now, the next one is about forecasting. Forecasting is very interesting because using the evolution of the planets around a chart, you can determine which periods are going to be better than others in various areas of life: money, personal life, sentimental life, relationships, work, and all the important areas of life are, of course, described in a birth chart. So according to the transits, especially I would say the transits of the slow planets from Jupiter to Pluto, but others are also very important because they act on like a triggering agent. So when a fast planet arrives where a slow planet is transiting, then it triggers the energy of the slow planet in various ways, of course, and that's what I explain in this book. Then there is the book on karma. So if you're interested in karma, previous incarnations, the previous incarnation is most probably where you come from, naturally. And what you bring back from that previous incarnation is very important because it sort of explains what is not explainable otherwise, bringing back some particular trait, particular tendency and so on. That's very interesting to know, and also it explains how and why you should take that into consideration and then use that to perfect your life, to make it better, and also to prepare for the next one, because if there was a previous life, there is bound to be a next one, and this present life prepares you for the next one. So the best you deal with that present life, the better it will be for you in the next one. Well, I would imagine anyway. So the last one I want to talk to you about, which is not actually the last one, there's another one I'm going to announce very soon. It's about learning astrology for a better life. A Better Life School of Astrology is my school's name. So I titled this book Astrology for a Better Life because it does work in that sense that it makes your life better if you understand yourself better, and if you do not worry too much about how other people tell you what you are and who you are and how you are. It's the chart that's going to tell you who you are, who you really are, and what are all your motivations, all the situations that you may have gone through that have developed the personality that you have, and the aims, the goals that you have in life, and so on. So astrology to me is really something that can make your life better. And that is actually the subject of a webinar that I'm going to conduct together with Lucas on the 9th of November. So if you're interested in this webinar, which is going to be a special one, which I will announce soon as we've organized everything, you'll have the program, the full program, available on the website. You can read it and decide for yourself, but this is a webinar that will tell you how actually astrology can make your life better, because it can. I know it for myself, and Lucas knows it for himself as well, and many people do too. The next thing I want to show you is this one. Pluto in Aquarius, 20 years to change it all. That's the title of my latest book, which is not finished yet, though. But it will be published together with the French version, on Amazon on the 20th of November, on the day when actually Pluto is going to enter in Aquarius. And it will remain in Aquarius for 20 years. And that is going to profoundly, definitely change our society. And that is not going to be easy for some, but it will be something that is necessary for us humans to progress, spiritually and otherwise. And lastly, I would like to also tell you a bit more about Spooky-Doo. A lot of you know Spooky-Doo. I was surprised reading the comments below my last video. I was surprised, to see how many of you know, and for some of you use Spooky-Doo. I've gone in much deeper into what it can do, and it's quite amazing. It works on our frequencies, and it has the power, it has the ability to not only stabilize our frequencies, but also to restore the best level of frequency for any organ in your body that may need to be readjusted, and doing so, of course, you feel better. It's all about a better life, really. And that's why I'm interested in this equipment. And I'm not gaining anything financially, from what I'm telling you today. It's just that I want to share what is good for me, I think can be good for other people. So anyway, see for yourself and visit the website, Spooky-Doo's website, and you will find a lot more about it. And these people on this website are really nice people. So you can ask them and ask them again and ask them again. They will always be there for you to answer your requests or your questions. Anyway, let's go now and talk about the new moon. Here is the chart. This is going to occur once again on the 2nd of October 2024 at 6:50 p.m. Universal Time. So the sun and the moon are here, as you can see, 10 degrees and 4 minutes in Libra. But they're not alone. Next to them is the black moon, Lilith, and Mercury. And before them, but not far away, is the south lunar node. Now, the new moon, to me, is the beginning of a new cycle, a lunar cycle. So that's true, from an astronomical point of view. But it is also, in my opinion, a moment that we should choose to start something, to begin something new, or something that we want to do or have been wanting to do for a long time. The moment when the new moon occurs signals the beginning of the new cycle. But each new moon, because there is about one new moon each month, there will be about 12 or 13 new moons during a year. But each one are different. They're all different because they all occur in a different sign. And the sign has a meaning symbolically. For example, Libra. Well, it is the 7th sign of the zodiac. As such, it is naturally somehow linked symbolically, once again, to the 7th house, which represents us, but together with other people. So house 7 represents relationships, important relationships. It also represents our ability to deal with such relationships, to deal with other people, the interest that we have in other people. It also represents diplomacy, especially Libra. And we need diplomacy, very often in our relationships. Otherwise, we would be in conflict very often with people we love, which is, something that is quite disturbing when it does happen. So the new moon occurring in Libra indicates, perhaps for yourself or others, it all depends, on what you're expecting from life, what you want, what you hope for, and your projects. In that sense, that house 7 also represents contracts, for example, and that when you get involved into a relationship, it is like you sign a contract. It is a moral contract, or it is a real contract. And if it is a real contract, it may be a professional contract, So you get a job and you sign a contract with your boss. That's also house 7. So this new moon must be understood in this way, because that will help you and others take the right decision on the right moment, perhaps right on that moment, which is 6:50 p.m. Universal Time. So work it out for where you are living, wherever you are, country, because that's going to make a difference. If you're in the United States, it can be 5, 6, 8 hours difference. So that must be taken into consideration, because if you want to make a decision on that particular moment of the exact conjunction between the sun and the moon, then you would be in accordance or in harmony with the cosmic energies. But it's not going to be so simple. I'll tell you that later on. Because actually, the sun and the moon are going to create an eclipse. And it is going to be a particular one, which we call the ring of fire. Because the moon is going to travel across the circle of the sun. And the sun, of course, is much bigger than the moon. But the moon being much closer to us than the sun, it looks very often bigger than the sun. And when it does, it occults completely, it hides completely the sun. That is a complete type of eclipse. And the night comes, for a number of minutes, it's completely dark. In some areas of the earth, not everywhere. It's like a strip, going across the earth. So in some areas, you will be able to see it, others no. But this time, the moon is farther from the earth than it is when there is a complete eclipse. So the disk is smaller, and it just fits inside the disk of the sun, but not quite. It's a bit smaller. So the sun still shines behind, and it looks like a ring of fire. That may have a meaning. I'm not sure about that, because I'm not a specialist in new moons and the symbolism of the moon. I'm not really accustomed to that. So I prefer to look at it from an astrological point of view. And I was saying earlier on that this new beginning, represented by the new moon, that new cycle in which you may want or need to get involved in, is not going to be so easy, unfortunately. Because first of all, the black moon is next to it. And the black moon represents the dark zone. So it is something that you doubt, that you dread perhaps, that you're afraid of, afraid to discover, afraid to understand, afraid that other people are going to discover it. So Lilith is there, and because it is a new moon, as I said earlier on, it's going to make the sun different, the light of the sun. That ring of fire is going to shine on that black moon to give you some insight into what it represents. And it may be something hidden or something you ignore, something you want to ignore. That's the black moon, you know, it makes you uneasy. It's also the libido. The libido is your sexual drive, and it may be enhanced by this new moon. But if you want to get involved in a relationship, and if you suddenly believe that you are falling in love with the person in question, ask yourself if it's really love or if it's sexual attraction. That will help avoiding getting involved into a relationship that is not going to work, because it's not going to be based, well, solely on love itself, on the feeling of love. It's going to be based more on that, you know, libido and sexual attraction. Think about it, but that does not only apply to personal relationships. It applies to anything in which you want to get involved. Follow your instinct, which is actually represented by the black moon. So if you instinctively feel that there is something that will go wrong if you get involved, don't get involved. Wait for another new moon perhaps, or another time anyway. And if you want to have more information about that, don't hesitate to visit our website and, you know, ask a question. We will be only too happy to help you with our astrology knowledge. And there is also Mercury. You see, Mercury is here 11 degrees and 33 minutes, whereas the black moon is at 10 degrees and 34 minutes. It's only not even a degree separating both. And Mercury is only 1 degree and 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes away from that conjunction Sun-Moon. So Mercury is there to perhaps make it even more twisted the way you're going to think about what is going on and what you want to get involved in. It's simply because Mercury represents our brains, you know, our ability to think, to understand, to perceive what is going on around us, and to share, to communicate with other people. It represents our intellect. So if your intellect is biased by the presence of the black moon and the energy of the new moon, well, getting into a new project, a new venture, a new relationship, a new cycle in any case, is going to be doubtful. It's doubtful because the black moon represents what is hiding behind a corner and perhaps waiting for you to make the wrong step. Steps are represented by Mercury, you know, which actually represents our mobility as well. And as talking about mobility, you see there is a discordance here, which we call a square, with Mars. And Mars represents speed. When there is a square between Mercury and Mars in a chart, which actually is an example that I teach in my course, the person is very hectic, very reactive, mentally and physically as well. So that means that that new moon, representing the moment, a moment to choose, I would say, to begin a new cycle, whatever that cycle is that, you know, for you, of course. Because of Mars, you could be tempted to rush into it and even to impose in a very strong, you know, authoritarian type of manner what you think, what you want, where you want to go. And if you're driving, for example, on that particular day and time when the new moon occurs, you could be suddenly tempted to accelerate or to make the wrong move, and that could lead to an accident. But it could also lead to many mistakes that we make all the time. I mean, who doesn't make mistakes? But on that particular day and time, the mistake made could be much more important and could lead to much worse consequences than other mistakes that you've made. So my advice is to actually hold on as much as we can, hold on our horses, as we say, because as you can see, there is also those links here, those lines, green lines, they with Saturn. Saturn is this planet here, and that green line is called an inconjunct or a quincunx. It's an angle of about 150 degrees separating the elements between themselves around the circle of the zodiac. It represents a tendency that we all have as well from time to time, to procrastinate. So to say, well, I'll do that tomorrow. I know I should do it today, but I'll do it tomorrow. I haven't got time. You tell yourself that you don't have the time, but you don't have the interest, perhaps, or you don't feel that it is important enough. But Saturn is a very important planet. Saturn is a karmic planet. So it represents what you should actually do, rather than let it be done by perhaps someone else. Do it yourself. And do it on that day and around that time. You see, the moon is going to enter in Libra about 20 hours before the new moon. And it's going to remain in Libra for 2.5 days, so until the 4th of October. And during the day, I think it's about midday. It'll be written below the video anyway, to help you exactly know when that happens. But I don't have it in my memory. I'm getting old, sorry. So anyway, this configuration indicates that there could be a very special situation. Because on one side, Mars here stimulates greatly the need to act and to go for it, to get ahead and to get involved in that new cycle, new venture, new relationship, or to get involved in the conflict that could emerge from this configuration. And that would lead you to forget about being diplomatic about what happens. And you would react very suddenly. But remember that this configuration involving Mars with the 5 elements here in Libra, everybody is going to be influenced by it in various ways, of course. So if you get in trouble with someone, for example, because you react too quickly or you get angry, know that this person is going to be under the influence of this configuration as well. So the actual conflict or argument could lead to something very drastic. Just remember that. That may help you put your foot on the brakes. The brakes are represented by Saturn, and Mars represents the accelerator. So what are you going to give the priority to? That is the question. And my advice is to try as much as you can to get them to work together in a harmonious and constructive manner. There will be a potential. It is shown in the chart. Have you seen that? It is shown by the fact that Mars, which is, yes, in discordance with this conjunction here, Mercury, Lilith, the Moon, the Sun, and the South Lunar Node, yes, but it is in harmony with Saturn. And if Saturn represents the brakes, if Mars represents the accelerator, the link, that type of link which we call a trine, it is a 120-degree angle or about, linking actually elements or planets that are in sign belonging to the same elements, which is here water. So the positive link between the two should allow you, myself as well, but I'm, well positioned to know what to do or not to do, although I have my tempers naturally also. So in any case, this configuration is showing that we'll have the ability, the potential to put the foot on the brakes and to accelerate when needed. So if you listen to Mercury, the black moon, the sun, and the South lunar node, you will listen to Mars. And you won't listen to Saturn, if you see what I mean. So that means that you will be extremely impetuous and impulsive as well. And of course, that's going to make the difference, because you wouldn't be able then, in that case, to use the very nice potential emanating from the trine between Mars and Saturn. Now that's very important to remember, and I ask you to remember that and to prepare yourself for the new moon, which is not far away now, so that you don't get trapped somehow, so that you don't get fooled by something represented by Lilith, which could lead you to make a very bad mistake. And that's actually the main energy emanating from this chart. So that's why I talked about it extensively. Now, there is also here a trine with Venus, which is interesting, because Venus represents love, pure love, It represents also that carnal love, it's true. It represents the pleasures of love and carnal pleasures as well, so sexuality, but it's more sensuality than sexuality with Venus. Although Venus also represents the zones of the body that are linked, with sensuality, love, and sexuality as well. But Lilith represents more that darker type of sexuality, the needs that we have at times that are not really, that we are not really proud of, but they're there somehow. They need to be refrained, they need to be disciplined somehow. They need to be controlled. They need to be controlled. And as soon as they are controlled, they transform themselves, those thoughts and desires and attractions, they transform themselves into creativity, which actually Venus represents as well. So that means that from a purely sexual attraction, you can eventually find real love if you are able to control that same sexual attraction and give more insight, more thoughts to the real feeling of love that you may have or not. If you don't, let it go, forget about it. But don't fool yourself with what you are going to need somehow physically rather than morally. And the black moon is nothing moral at all. So it represents the dark zones that we all have. To some extent, some have more than others, of course, but we all have that dark zone. We must agree with that. And once we agree with it, we can deal with that even better. So anyway, I wanted to finish this reading with the South lunar node. Because as you know, the South lunar node, as you may know, I don't know if you know it, but I repeat that quite often in my videos. So if you've been watching my videos more than once, you should know what the South lunar node means, to me anyway. It may be different to other astrologers, but anyway, it represents what we should let go of. Free ourselves from some kind of dependence, which is actually becoming too heavy to carry, which makes us less than what we should be if we were able to detach ourselves from that particular dependence. Because across the south lunar node is the north one. And the north one is in Aries, the south one is in Libra. So Libra represents our dealing with relationships, the way we deal with relationships in general. And of course, personal relationships, important relationships in any way. But we can be influenced by others. We can be under the influence of other people, actually. We can be dependent on other people. It can be our partner, it can be someone else, it can be our boss, it can be anyone. It can be friends as well. But the North Lunar Node in Aries tells us that we are someone. We are not a couple, we are not belonging, or we are not part of a relationship, be it personal, be it social, friendly, or whatever. We are one person. And because Aries is the first sign, it is the I am sign, whereas Libra is the we are sign. So this new moon is also probably a moment in time when you can verify that and assess the situation. Yes, I can see and I understand that I depend on this person, on this situation, on this or that, but I am someone and I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference by imposing who I am, what I am, and how I can make the actual relationship perhaps work better, because I will then give more of my own personality, my own potentials to the benefit of this relationship or partnership or whatever it is. But Mars represents Aries, so it does represent the North Lunar Node, which is in Aries naturally, and Mars is in discordance with the South Lunar Node, so it is also in discordance with the South one. Even though it is a wide square, some wouldn't take it into consideration, but I do, because I believe that a planet in a sign will be in relationship with a planet in another sign, whatever the position of each planet is in such signs. So if there is that discordance, it means that we will be pulled between, two sides of the situation. And we could, of course, be much more influenced by what is happening in Libra, due to the position of the new moon, to Lilith, Mercury, and of course the South Lunar Node. So if we are more inclined to react to what we feel as being something that limits us, something where we depend upon, which we want to get rid of, to detach ourselves from, we may choose to do so in a much more radical manner, which is going to perhaps free us for sure, but then what? This is a question that you need to ask yourself, because when Mars is in discordance with Mercury, for example, we don't have time to think. Those people who have that type of configuration in their birth chart don't give enough time to think of the consequences of their reactions. So they react, they take the decisions, they move forward, they rush, they run, and they hit the wall most of the time, or they get into trouble. So if you don't want to get into trouble on and around that new moon, knowing that what happens then may have much more long-lasting consequences than just during those 2.5 days when the moon is going to transit through Libra, of course. The sun is going to remain in there much longer, Mercury also, and the black moon as well. So just remember that what you want to get involved in, what you want to free yourself from, what you want to impose of yourself as being yourself and not someone else, must be done in a very well-controlled manner and well-prepared manner. So you don't have much time actually, because today is 26th of September, and I'm not going to put this video online right away today. It will most probably be done on the weekend. So we'll be very close to the new moon. But still, it may give you a couple of days or more to really think and prepare for that new moon. It is an important one. And you will notice that in some areas of the world, some regions where there are conflicts, it may become even more tensed and dangerous for the whole world, actually. So thank you, and all the best. Enjoy this new moon as much as possible. Enjoy the ring of fire. If you can see it, you know, it most probably is going to be very beautiful. So if you do see it and take some photos, send me some, and I'll put them online to show other people. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.